Ken Cuccinelli. He is now serving as the senior official performing the duties of Deputy Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. He was the Attorney General of Virginia and now serves in the Trump administration. Ken, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Glenn. Good to be with you.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are up against the wall and slammed, but there's a couple of things that I really want to go over with you. The press is saying now that the Department of Homeland Security is wearing military uniforms. They're in unmarked cars, and they are just scooping people up without charge in Portland, Oregon, and other places. Can you respond to that?
Sure, I can respond to each of them. I'm sure it will not surprise you to learn that all of them are false. We have, yes, I know you're shocked. There are 4 federal agencies there protecting the federal property. 3 of them are from the Department of Homeland Security. The U.S. Marshals is the 4th. They guard the inside of the courthouse. But a little-known agency called the Federal Protective Service protects thousands of federal properties across the country. They've been protecting this courthouse at issue in Portland since it was built in 1997. So this is not a new mission. It's a 24/7, 365 mission. We have been there from the beginning of this courthouse being built and the birth of the Department of Homeland Security. But on the July 4th weekend, we got intelligence that there was going to be heightened violence directed at this federal facility as well as one nearby called the Edith Green Building. And so we advanced supportive officers from Customs Border Protection and ICE who were cross-designated. It's like deputizing them as Federal Protective Service officers, all of whom have the training for the jobs they're doing in Portland, by the way, another false narrative. And the intelligence was correct. There was a directed violence that was higher than it had been before at these federal facilities, and our officers have bravely and resolutely done their duty and done their job to protect those facilities and people using them and each other, of course, during that time. And one other false narrative, Glenn, is this, we've heard the mayor say, well, they came here and started this violence. Well, the violence was going on for more than a month, every single day, more than 5 weeks, every single day in Portland before we ever expanded our presence there. So that's just ridiculous. With respect to the cars, we do use unmarked cars. I almost laughed when I heard Nancy Pelosi making this quote accusation. So maybe she should check the San Francisco Police Department. You will find that every single law enforcement agency of any size in America uses unmarked vehicles because they're safer for the officers, they're more effective for the mission. And we are not grabbing people off the street. The only people that we detain are people who match descriptions of offenders or who are just caught in the act. They're questioned. If they are the offender, they're arrested. If they're not, they're released. And it's that simple and that straightforward. It's a standard arrest procedure used anywhere in America. And finally, the uniforms. The FPS officers wear blue. The ICE officers wear sort of a khaki. Their agents are not so much on the street, but also the ones that you hear this military uniform thing are the Customs Border Protection BORTAC units, which is like our SWAT teams. And it's worth noting, most of the time, while they're trained for the job they're doing, most of their time is on the border. That's what their uniforms are. We don't just go buy new uniforms every week for these folks. So we came with what we had, and they are marked. They say police on the front, police on the back, and on both shoulders they're identified as Customs Border Protection officers and members of the Department of Homeland Security, and they have an individualized badge number for each one of them, not their name, because of the doxing threat to our law enforcement that has been happening by the dozens. And that just doesn't threaten the officers. That's their families as well. And the notion that, when I hear criticism from people like the Speaker of the House, who doesn't criticize the violence, who doesn't criticize the terrorism, which is what the intentional targeting of law enforcement officers to hurt them and harm them and put them in fear, that's terrorism. I don't hear condemnation of that. I hear condemnation of us actually performing our mission. And I know, Glenn, I've read a lot of your stuff, so I'll hit you real quick with the constitutional elements. Article 1, Section 8, paragraphs 1, 9, and 18 are the constitutional foundation for the mission we have there. There are statutes conforming to those constitutional provisions, and it is those statutes, those laws, that we are enforcing. We are there constitutionally, we are there legally, we are performing properly, and we will continue to do that at the direction of this president until peace is restored or those facilities are protected. We're not doing local or state law enforcement. We don't have authority to do that. We're not presuming to have that authority, and that is not the authority we're acting under.
Well, you came prepared. Why is the media framing it this way if everything you said is true?
Well, they have a goal, and it isn't truth. Truth is their enemy, and truth is our friend. The phrase in there that is, of course, the worst is without cause. Like we just randomly grab people off the street. That is absolutely not what's going on. There was a viral video from last week of CBP agents who detained an individual and did move him into their vehicle, unmarked vehicle, and moved him away from the location. You could hear the sort of shouting and harassing going on. You can tell it's not a safe situation, which is why that individual was moved. What you don't see is the 2-block foot chase before that detention that followed the agents approaching and identifying themselves to the individual without detaining him because he matched a description of someone who had assaulted two law enforcement officers an hour beforehand. You don't see any of that in the video, so you don't know that they're pursuing an individual suspected of, and with information, suspected of assaulting law enforcement officers. That individual was detained. He was the location was moved because of safety concerns for both the officers and the individual, was questioned and was determined specifically not to be the assailant and was released, all in under 10 minutes. So that's the way it's supposed to work.